Hey guys, it's Amy with Things to Plan, and today I am here with a DIY project. I'm putting together my cover and system for my budget cash envelopes. So just a quick side note before I jump in, you probably saw this in the title, but if you are trying to set up your own DIY sticker books, this is a great project for you to do in order to make your own covers for your sticker books as well. So with that being said, I'm doing this for my budget cash envelope system. And so what I'm going to be using is a companion pack storage folder. The first thing I'm going to be doing is taking off the pocket that's on the inside of the storage folder, both the left and the right pocket. So I'm just going to cut it down and that's pretty much it. Now, you can see that with the cover that I selected, I wanted something that was a little bit like, it didn't have a saying that was like the full width of the storage pocket, just because I'll be trimming down the width of it. So I thought this pocket was perfect for that. I trimmed off all of the pockets, and it does have like the extra fold over paper from the pocket, and I tried to take it off, but I ended up leaving them on just because like the very first like little piece that I tried to pull off ripped, and so I didn't want the inside cover to have like ripped like parts of it, so I just decided to leave it on. I'm using the Happy Planner sticker storage sheets to use as my cash envelope system. And so what I'm going to do is basically add a quarter of an inch on three sides. I don't add extra, like the extra quarter of an inch on the fourth side, the side that's with the discs. It's just measuring those other three sides. And what I do is measure just the paper part, not the laminated part. And so you can see that I'm going to be using a cover just to kind of check my like measurements here. I check a bunch of times just because I hate to make a mistake. The first thing I did was for measuring was to try to draw all around with a pencil very lightly. I think this is the best method just because it keeps everything kind of straight. But even with measuring, my measurements were a little bit off. So is totally fine. It was just a little bit off. And so I ended up having to measure like 3 or 4 different times. Then comes out like my massive guillotine. You can use any paper trimmer, but I have a giant paper guillotine that I use for some of these bigger craft projects. I am going to fast forward through this part just because like it's like cutting and measuring and like remeasuring and all that. But just side note, like measure twice or three or four, five, six times, and just cut once, right? You don't want to mess up. For the back piece, one of the things that I did want to do was kind of like save the Happy Planner logo and have that be centered. So you can see that I'm kind of measuring it and make sure that the sides or the size of it is correct. So that way that logo is centered. Okay, next step is again going to be fast forwarded, but basically I take what I trimmed and I laminated it. So what I suggest for you is to go ahead and make sure that your laminating machine is listed as ready, obviously, but I always wait like an additional 10 minutes just to make sure it's like super hot for me. I do laminate mine using a machine that can handle 10 mil. 10 mil lamination is what the Happy Planner covers are like in thickness. And so if you want a 10 mil laminating machine, that would be the laminating machine I recommend for you. I will link mine down below. It has worked for quite a while, but now it's on its last legs. It doesn't laminate quite as well. But what I do is, just because it's not working as well, I will run it through a couple of times. And you'll see actually that I end up running it through twice. And then I run it through at the very end again one more time, just to kind of like make sure everything's sealed really well. Then I pull out my guillotine and I trim down all the laminated pieces. And again, this is not exact, it's not perfect, but I do try to keep it to where it's around a quarter of an inch all the way around. And this includes the edge that is the disc. So the paper part, I don't add that fourth side, but for the lamination, I do add a quarter of an inch all the way around. And again, it's not perfect. I just try to eyeball it so that way it looks kind of centered with the lamination. Next step is to punch it. Now, what I use to punch is going to be the arc punch. One of the things about the arc punch is that it's a little bit shallower. The stem of it is not as long as the Happy Planner punch, but I like using the arc punch just because it can make it through the 10 mil lamination with no problems. I do not recommend using the Happy Planner punch just because you might jam your punch. It's not meant to handle like 10 mil lamination. If you don't have an arc punch, I would recommend using the Crocodile Power Punch. I'll link that so that way you can see that. Or if nothing else, just use a single hole punch. I like to use a single hole punch quite a bit actually to do my lamination. So just use a single hole punch and then use a pair of scissors to kind of create the stems for yourself. So for the arc punch, what I do is I use another cover just to align and make sure that the holes, the disc holes are where they should be. If you're not using an arc punch, you can just mark it with like a Sharpie or like here, I use the alignment guide and I just move it to the spot where I need it. And then one of the other things that I do for the arc punch is turn up that bottom edge or like one of the edges so that way there isn't like an extra like punched off edge right on the edge of the lamination. So I turn up that edge and you'll see that. Okay, final step here is assembling everything. So what I decided to use was classic hot pink metal discs to just kind of go with the cover. Then I will pop on all the envelopes. One of the things you'll notice as I put this together is that it's going to be a mix of like envelopes that have cash in it and some that don't have cash in it. That will be probably my next video. But what I decided to do in this video was put everything in alphabetical order. I'll probably change it up and kind of split it to where the like daily, weekly envelopes are at the beginning and then the long-term sinking funds are at the end, and then it would be in alphabetical order. That makes more sense to me. One of the things I noticed was the travel sticker, the colorful box that I used was a little bit crooked, so I fixed that. All right, final thing here is just running through quickly my categories for my cash envelopes. So I have car, education, food, gas, gifts, go wild, health, home, music, planners, Sophea, travel. Those are all of my cash envelopes. I did make an envelope for everything, which is something I was considering before, but I did make some envelopes for my long-term sinking funds that are empty, and I'm just really excited about stuffing them in the next video. So if you enjoyed this video, give it a like. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to my channel, and until the next video, bye guys.